We often hear of and tell stories about neighbors helping neighbors in Maine. Sometimes it's an entire community that comes together.
One family in Yarmouth is still thankful for the support they received after facing the most difficult road of their lives. Losing anyone you love is painful.
He was very stubborn and very competitive.
Losing a child.
Gibson, he was passionate and loving. He had an amazing amount of energy around him.
Is excruciating.
He was also like kind of sneaky good. He would do things that he wouldn't talk about that were just really generous, you know, helping his friends, helping people that he didn't know very well.
Gibson Harnett, or Gibby, as his parents Kendall and Deanna call him, was a three-sport athlete at Yarmouth High School and was known for his competitive nature.
I remember we bought him a Barbie house one time because I was like, we are not doing gender roles. And the Barbies jumped off the top of the building and crashed into the ground, and always wanting to play and roughhouse and play sports.
He loved sports, but I think even more than he loved sports, he loved being part of a team. I think that was always, you know, his motivating factor. He loved his coaches, he loved his teammates.
Those teammates, many of whom became his good friends, were at the center of his world.
One, he's the most competitive guy I've ever met in my life. But two, he's also the most genuine, loving, person that I've ever met.
He was, an unbelievable friend. He would tell it to you like it is, even if you didn't want to hear it.
He's not the teammate that would take every shot or be a ball hog. He'd actually want his teammates to succeed and to have that glory as well.
Gibson took his love for the game to college and eventually to his first job in New York City. On his 24th birthday, May 6, 2023, Gibson went to the doctors for what he thought was a pulled muscle from playing basketball. It turned out to be much worse.
We know what late stage means. We know what metastasize means. We know these terms, unfortunately.
Gibson had cancer.
The official diagnosis happened at the end of May, and it was clear cell sarcoma. And it's a very rare cancer that there's no cure for. There's like a 1% chance or a very small percentage chance that you beat it. And so we, on our family text, got a text from Gibson, and it said, I'm going to beat this. It's 1%. And
why can't I be that 1%?
Yeah,
somebody has to be.
Somebody has to be.
He texted our group chat, and I still remember the text. He mentioned he didn't spell out cancer right away. He just said the C word, and from there I didn't read the rest of the text because it was just so hard. I just stood there in shock.
He knew what his plan was. He was confident in his doctors having a plan, and he, kind of instilled the faith in us that he was going to try to beat this thing, and he had every bit of confidence that he could.
Clear cell sarcoma produces tumors. Gibson had them throughout his body. Hoping for a miracle, he started experimental immunotherapy treatment at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in New York.
He posted on his Instagram the first day he started his immunotherapy treatment.
It was a multi-page post, and the last page were just those 3 words, time to compete. And I read it, and it just resonated with me, especially who he was and what it meant.
I just thought it was a really catchy phrase that he was like, hey, it's time for me to, stand up and I'm going to fight this. And it did mean that in some ways. I think what we realized after is that what he was also doing is he was telling all his friends, it's time for you to compete too. It's time for us to come together and be a team. And then for him to give a rallying cry to his friends that, I'm going to need you in this fight just as much as I have to be the fighter.
The reality of it all was cruel. And yet, with his family and friends by his side, Gibson remained strong.
They went out and they did stuff. They lived. They had a good summer. You know, it wasn't really until October where he started really struggling with the disease. At one point, he's like, you know, if I end up in a wheelchair, I'm going to rock that wheelchair. It's just amazing.
Gibson carried that attitude with him until the very end. On January 4th, 2024, 7 months after his diagnosis, Gibson took his last breath.
We had so much support here, as did he, and our community came together like nobody's business.
In his final months, Gibson was pushing on and finding a way to help other young people fighting cancer. He started his own nonprofit for patients in their 20s.
This is Gibby's incarnation, his idea.
The main idea for creating this was to help others, and that's like always has been his motto and stuff, and like what he lived by. But I also do think that another potential reason for him creating Time to Compete was to kind of have a building block for his friends and family to come together.
Time to Compete was no longer a motto, it was a movement. When we come back, a closer look at the organization Gibson left behind and the people who are carrying his legacy into the future. Stay with us.